Hi everyone, it's Skiesti. Today I'm here with Andriatic to bring you a guide for console Mercy players.
Hey guys, my name's Andriatic. I'm a Grandmaster / top 500 tier support main that plays both PC and console, but I'm known primarily for my console gameplay. I specialize in Mercy and have peaked rank 18 support on the top 500 leaderboards on console and North American servers playing primarily Mercy. To help with Mercy's movement, I personally have swapped my jump and crouch buttons from their defaults. I use my left stick to crouch and I use my left trigger to jump. I personally don't use paddle attachments on my controller, so these bindings make the most sense for me. This allows me to rarely take my thumbs off the joysticks. With this, I can easily jump and use angelic descent by simply pressing my left trigger with one of my other fingers, while if I use the default bindings, I'd have to take my thumb off of the right joystick to press A. The same applies with crouch and makes Crouch Guardian Angel easier for me, as well as making it easier to crouch spam when needed. I've also moved my Rez binding from its default binding, which is left trigger, to A. I essentially have just swapped my jump and Rez buttons, and this feels very nice to me. Resurrect on console is considered Mercy's secondary fire, and on console, your secondary fire is also auto-bound to angelic descent. So many Mercy players keep their jump and Rez bindings as default because you can still easily use angelic descent by using the left trigger, even with jump on A. However, a big setback to this is because it's bound to Rez, some people have the issue of occasionally accidentally rezzing if someone dies near them while they're using descent. This can easily be avoided by just making this simple button swap. I also have my reload and weapon swap buttons changed, but that's not too important. I personally use X to swap weapons and right D-pad to reload. I just do this because for me it's easier to swap weapons this way and you rarely need to reload as Mercy. Just note that if you do this on console, swapping heroes in spawn is bound to your reload button, so if you're swapping and you use this setting, you'll need to hold down your right D-pad rather than X. For my Mercy hero specific settings, I personally use Toggle Beam Connection off, Toggle Guardian Angel off, and Guardian Angel prefers facing target. My GA sensitivity is 90 and my beam sensitivity is 70. Just like on PC, all of these settings are personal preference, so choose what feels best for you, but I'll explain why I use what I use. I like to use Beam Connection and Toggle Guardian Angel off because I prefer to hold the buttons down. I also find it easier to cancel the abilities by simply letting go rather than having to tap them again. However, I know plenty of console Mercy players that find holding down buttons on a controller to be quite awkward, so they choose to use these settings on rather than off. Similarly to PC, in my personal opinion, prefer facing target is the best option, so I'd recommend sticking to this setting as it's the most flexible of the three and has the most benefits. My Guardian Angel and beam sensitivities are just what I find comfortable for more accurate beam juggling and Guardian Angels. For me, having them at a default 100 was not as accurate as I'd like, so I lowered them slightly. I use all these same hero specific settings on both PC and console, so feel free to mess around with these and see what's comfortable for you, or copy and reference mine and adjust from there. When it comes to sensitivity, this is where console varies from PC the most, because a controller is much more limited in what it can do as opposed to a mouse and keyboard. However, this doesn't mean it has to be a setback. For Mercy, I personally suggest using a high sensitivity. This will allow you to use your camera movement in a way that you're always aware of things, allows you to react to things more quickly, and helps you find Guardian Angel targets, and is also useful for Superjump Rezing. I personally use a sensitivity that is about as fast as possible for console, as this allows me to fulfill all of these things and makes your movement and gameplay smoother overall. If you're not used to playing on a high sensitivity, I suggest incrementally increasing it over time so that you get used to it. If you're concerned about your aim specifically, don't be. You're playing a hero that requires minimal aim and you can train that over time, so don't refuse to increase your sensitivity simply because you're missing a few shots with the pistol because of it. I've been using the same sense for years now, and when I first changed it, I was unable to aim, but with time using a consistent sense, my aim is fine now, so don't worry about that, and just get used to how it feels to use Guardian Angel and flick to different beam targets with a high sense if you don't already use one. Now, I'm also going to break down my personal sense and explain a little as to why I use it. Feel free to copy and try out my sensitivity, but if it's too fast for you, like if you play closer to the default sense, then slowly increase it over time like I suggested earlier. Console sensitivities have many parts, much more than the usual horizontal and vertical sensitivities. Under your settings for Mercy, go to the advanced sensitivity settings and you'll see a large list of various settings that affect your sensitivity. These are the important ones: aim assist strength, aim assist window size, aim assist ease in, aim smoothing, aim ease in, and aim technique. I'll break down roughly what these are and why I use what I use, but feel free to explore these settings yourself and find what's comfortable for you. For my horizontal and vertical settings, I use a set 100-100. These don't need much explanation, but in my opinion, there's no reason to be playing with anything less than this as Mercy. Aim assist is default at 100, and is something most people don't mess with. However, decreasing it can actually make your sensitivity a little faster and smoother. This is because the aim assist in console Overwatch mostly just slows down your sensitivity slightly when your crosshair is near an enemy. There is a slight pull, but it's pretty minimal. Obviously, as you turn this down, it would make aiming more difficult, but this is not anything you can't get used to with time. I personally use 85 for this setting. Your aim assist window size is comparable to your guardian angel or beam sensitivities. This essentially is how close your crosshair has to be to an enemy for the aim assist to actually kick in. I personally don't think this setting matters much for Mercy, but I play with this setting on 15 for all heroes, so for consistency reasons, that's what Mercy is too. This is because I find a smaller one smoother, as you don't have to worry about your aim assist freaking out when looking at large groups of enemies. Aim assist ease-in is similar to window size, but it basically just affects how your aim assist is controlled when your crosshair is over an enemy. Generally, a lower one is better for hit scans and more precise aim heroes, while a higher is better for projectile heroes. I personally use 0, which seems counterintuitive because Mercy's weapon is a projectile, but I find this more helpful because most of the time when you 1v1 as Mercy, you're relatively close to your enemy. Aim smoothing is one of the most important, and I highly suggest you use anything but 100, which is the default. Aim smoothing is essentially the delay before your sense goes from 0 to max speed. A lower aim smoothing allows you to flick your camera around easier and smoother as it reduces this delay. I have this setting down to 0, which essentially turns this off, and I find it much smoother for a hero like Mercy. Aim ease-in is similar to the aim assist ease-in, and I use 0 for this too, so I won't go into this in much detail. Finally, we have aim technique. This setting has 3 options: dual zone, exponential ramp, and linear ramp. I won't explain all of these in this video, but essentially they affect how your joystick controls your sensitivity, and I personally use exponential ramp as it goes well with having 0 aim smoothing and allows a quick camera movements that benefits Mercy's playstyle. Dual zone is the default, and most likely what you use. This is overall a great setting and would suggest using it if you're already used to it. Remember, these are just my settings for reference, so feel free to experiment and find what works for you. But as I said, I do highly suggest that you're using a fast sensitivity, as it greatly benefits Mercy's playstyle. I actually don't think Mercy's role changes much at all. However, your role may change game to game depending on your second support, which is comparable to PC. I say this because even on PC, in my experience, there are games where your second support is lacking and you may need to be a little bit more flexible. This isn't a platform difference and more just the nature of the game, as not everyone will be performing perfectly in your games. Mercy at her core is still a pocket type support who specializes in enabling her team, primarily her DPS, through the use of damage boost. This is the same on console and PC, however, it's best to play Mercy as an adaptable support and know when you need to heal more. Naturally, you may run into those situations more often in mid to low ranks on console, especially when playing with an aim-intensive hero like Ana, who is harder on console. So, when playing as Mercy paired with an Ana, your Ana may not be as reliable as a PC counterpart in the same rank, and you may need to heal more in this scenario. However, this is only really an issue in lower ranks, as high-rated console Ana players, in my experience, perform very well. It's also good to keep in mind that heroes like Ana have separate friendly aim assist settings that allow them to more easily heal their teammates, so this does help them a lot. I myself am an Ana player and am comfortable playing her in Grandmaster in top 500 games, but when playing with a Mercy, I would still expect her to play pocket style, as I know it's my job to do the bulk of the healing, and I'm also confident enough in my aim that I know I can fulfill this role. A general tip for console that is important to note is that console has a bit more of an input delay than PCs have, and because of this, techs like Crouch Guardian Angel require a slightly different timing. On PC, you can press these buttons at the exact same time, while on console, at least in my experience, you need to press crouch just slightly before your Guardian Angel. For me, I think of this as a quick 1-2 and press them in very quick succession. Because of the bindings I use, this is very easy to me, as I can just quickly press down my thumb and then index finger in this order. The way I like to think of it is if you're crouching into your Guardian Angel, if that makes sense. I also would like for people to understand that, despite the platform, Overwatch is still Overwatch. The differences between PC and console are not major enough that it's a quote-unquote completely different game. Your roles are generally the same on both platforms, so don't be afraid to support PC content creators and learn from them, as they can still give console players great advice despite not playing on the same platform as you. With that being said though, you should totally follow me because I play on the same platform as y'all, so just saying. Not many Mercy movement tips I have are specific to console, but I do have one that's very helpful for Mercy players on console or who may have a slower sensitivity. Unfortunately, the one major setback to playing on console versus PC is the sensitivity limitations, and even with the fastest console sensitivities, you'll never be able to 180 in one frame like you can with a mouse and keyboard on PC. Because of this, I highly suggest that console Mercy players perfect and utilize Reverse Guardian Angel. This is because you can use this tech to jump backwards or at angles you wouldn't be able to do so as fast or smooth if you were to just look in that direction. Take this small clip for example. As you can see, as I fly up, I see Roadhog. He's looking at me and I know he's about to try to hook me. I want to fly away at about my 4 o'clock, however, turning all the way around would have taken longer. So instead, I quickly flick my camera in the opposite direction I want to go and then reverse Guardian Angel. When you have a slower sense, or even a fast one actually, it's beneficial to be able to utilize your camera movement in a way that doesn't limit you. You can fly backwards without doing a 180 very easily now in Overwatch 2, and you can do this at various angles. If you think of a circle around you like a clock and say you want to fly to your 8 o'clock, instead of turning all the way around and flying, now you can just look at your 2 o'clock and then use a reverse Guardian Angel. And this is very helpful to making quicker, more reactive movements and will make your movement smoother overall. Another quick tip I have is related to one of the Mercy techs, the Slingshot Bunny Hop, or as I like to call it, the Sling Hop. This tech is known for being a little inconsistent due to its tricky timing, but I have a tip that may help make this tech a little more consistent and easier to perform. A lot of people hold Angelic Descent on their jump binding after their Guardian Angel. However, for a Sling Hop, you don't want to do this, as the Angelic Descent can actually mess up your Bunny Hop afterwards. What I like to do is use Guardian Angel, Slingshot, make sure I'm not holding or using Angelic Descent, and as you hit the ground, quickly tap your jump binding to Bunny Hop. This also makes the Bunny Hop faster, smoother, and will even give you a little more distance. This is where having a fast sensitivity is beneficial, as it allows you to flick up your camera quickly in order to Superjump Rez. However, if you use a lower sensitivity, I do have a console-specific tip that may help you a little. If you use a slower sense, my quick tip to using Superjump Rez is to start looking up early for your jump. This way you can get the right angle beforehand, and you'll also need to jump a little bit earlier, just like this. You'll notice I look up early because of the difference in time it takes to look up at the right angle, versus a quick flick as you could do with a faster sensitivity. This version of Superjump will not go as high as flicking up, and overall is not as smooth, but this is one of the downfalls to using a slower sense. Superjump Rez is kinda tricky now that it's harder to control the height of your jump. As you probably know by now, you can only use the method of Superjump where you tap crouch to jump at close ranges, and that for longer ranges, you want to flick your camera up in order to do a Superjump Rez. And this is the same on console as it is on PC. Every Guardian Angel tech that's possible on PC can also be done on console.
Not on my watch. Where was it? Right by you. Right by you. Dream.
Thanks so much for having me, Skiesti. You can find me here on YouTube at Andriatic CX. I make primarily educational content related to Mercy through full gameplays, highlights, VOD reviews, and guides. I also recently started streaming on Twitch, and you can find me there at twitch.tv/Andriatic. If you have any questions for me, I'll be in the comment section to answer them for you, or you can head over to my channel where you'll find a community post that's set up for questions if you have them, where it'll be easier for me to see. Thanks so much, and hope y'all have a great day.
Thank you so much for watching. Remember to check out Andriatic, and I'll see you next time.